After my husband beat me, I went to bed without a word. The next morning, he woke up to the smell of pancakes and saw the table filled with all kinds of treats. He said, "Good, you finally understood." But when he saw who was sitting at the table, his expression changed instantly. Before we continue, don't forget to write in the comments which country you're from and how old you are. Enjoy listening. The clock on the nightstand glowed 3:17 a.m. in soft red digits, the only light in the master bedroom. Elena lay perfectly still, one hand pressed to her left cheek, where the heat of Marcus' slap still radiated like a small sun beneath her skin. She could feel the swelling rising, the tender skin tightening with each heartbeat. The house was quiet, except for the low mechanical hum of the refrigerator downstairs and the occasional creak of old beams settling in the night. She stared at the ceiling fan, its blades motionless in the offs, and counted the tiny dust motes caught in the dim glow from the street lamp outside. Marcus had fallen asleep in the guest room an hour ago. She had listened to the floorboards protest under his heavy steps, the door slamming with finality, the muffled thump of his body hitting the mattress. He would snore soon. The deep rumbling sound that used to feel protective when they were newlyweds, and now felt like a warning bell. She waited until the snoring started, uneven at first, then steady before she moved. She slipped from the bed in slow motion, bare feet silent on the hardwood. The air was cool. Gooseflesh rose on her arms beneath the thin cotton of her nightgown. In the bathroom, she closed the door with a soft click and flipped on the light. The mirror was merciless. The bruise was already a deep plum color, shaped like the continent of Africa across her cheekbone. She tilted her head left, then right, studying it the way a scientist studies a specimen, evidence. She opened the camera app on her phone, turned off the flash, and took 7 photos from different angles. The timestamps read 3:29 a.m. She emailed them to herself, to Laura, and to a new folder labeled for when I'm ready. Then she opened the Notes app and typed, "Call Laura at 5:00 a.m. Call non-emergency police at 5:30 a.m. Urgent care opens at 7:00 a.m. Go before work. Do not speak to Marcus until officers arrive." Pancakes, bacon, berries, coffee, make it look normal. She stared at the last line for a long time. Normal. The word tasted like ash. Downstairs, she moved through the kitchen like a ghost. The burnt rice still sat in the pot on the stove, a blackened crust clinging to the stainless steel. She scraped it into the trash with a spatula, the sound loud in the silence. She tied the bag, carried it to the bin by the back door, and paused with her hand on the cool metal handle. The moon hung low and orange through the window, casting long shadows across the tile floor. She thought of her grandmother, Rosa, who used to say, "The kitchen is the heart of the home, mija. Feed it love and it feeds you back." Elena had fed this kitchen fear for too long. She opened the pantry. The shelves were orderly. Marcus insisted on labels facing out. Canned goods in height order, but tonight she saw them differently. Pancake mix, real maple syrup in a glass bottle, thick cut bacon from the butcher, farm fresh eggs in a cardboard carton, blueberries plump and dusted with frost from the freezer. She had bought them yesterday for a lazy Sunday breakfast that never happened. Now they would serve a different purpose. She set the griddle on the stove, turned burner to medium-low. While it heated, she whisked batter in her grandmother's old ceramic bowl, the one with the hairline crack repaired with superglue and love. The scent of vanilla and melted butter rose like incense. She laid bacon in a cast-iron skillet, the sizzle a soft hymn. She arranged blueberries in a cut glass bowl that had been a wedding gift, sliced strawberries into perfect fans on a white platter. She toasted thick slices of sourdough, spread them with butter and strawberry jam from the farmer's market. She brewed coffee in the French press, the dark roast Marcus liked. Strong enough to strip paint, he always said. The table was set for 4 white plates, cloth napkins folded into swans the way Rosa had taught her at age 10, orange juice in a crystal pitcher. Catching the first pale hint of dawn, she stepped back and surveyed her work. It looked like forgiveness. It was a trap, At 5:00 a.m. sharp, she called Laura. Her friend answered on the first ring. Voice thick with sleep but sharpening instantly when Elena whispered, "It happened again." Address? Laura was already moving. Elena heard the rustle of covers, the jangle of keys. Same, but this time I'm ready, stay on the line. I'm 10 minutes out. At 5:30, she called the non-emergency line. Dispatcher was calm, professional. Officers Ramirez and Hayes are en route. Ida 8 minutes. Do not engage with the suspect. Suspect? The word landed like a stone in still water. She stood at the kitchen window and watched the street. The cul-de-sac was silent, porch lights glowing like low moons. Mrs. Hargrove's house across the way was dark, but Elena knew the old woman was an early riser. At 5:47, headlights swept the driveway. 2 patrol cars, silent approach. Laura's Prius pulled in behind them. Officer Ramirez was first through the door, hand near her holster, but not on it. She was shorter than Elena expected, with kind eyes and a voice like warm tea. "Ma'am, are you injured?" Elena touched her cheek. "Yes." Officer Hayes, tall and quiet, began photographing the kitchen. Table, the bruise. Laura stood beside Elena, laptop open, fingers flying. "Temporary restraining order draft is ready. We file at 8 when the courthouse opens." Marcus appeared at the top of the stairs, in his gray sweatpants, hair wild, eyes squinting against the light. He inhaled the scents wafting up and smiled the smile of a man who believed the world would always reset in his favor. "Pancakes?" he said, voice growly with sleep and satisfaction. "Good, you finally understood." He descended slowly, each step creaking like a warning. He rounded the corner into the dining room and stopped short. Officer Ramirez sat at the table sipping coffee. Officer Hayes stood by the patio door, notepad in hand. Laura occupied Marcus' usual seat at the head, suit impeccable, eyes like flint. Marcus' smile evaporated. "What the?" Elena stepped from the shadow of the kitchen doorway, phone recording, bruise livid in the morning light. "Good morning, Marcus. Breakfast is served, but you're not eating with us." Ramirez stood. "Mr. Thompson, step back. We have a report of assault and battery. You're coming with us." Marcus' gaze darted from the officers to Laura to Elena. For the first time in years, he looked small. The officers moved with choreographed precision. Hayes read Marcus's rights in a low, steady monotone, while Ramirez guided Elena to the living room couch away from the breakfast tableau. Laura followed, laptop balanced on one arm, already pulling up the Tro template. The pancakes cooled untouched, syrup congealing into amber pools that caught the light like stained glass. Elena sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded in her lap to keep them from shaking. She recounted the evening in meticulous detail, the burned rice that started as a simple mistake, the way Marcus's voice had risen like a storm front, the moment his hand connected with her cheek and the world tilted. She described the sound, sharp, intimate, final, the way her ears rang, the metallic taste of fear on her tongue. Laura typed every word, her face unreadable except for the muscle jumping in her jaw. Marcus' protests echoed from the hallway. "She's exaggerating." It was mutual, but the officers ignored him. They photographed the bruise under the soft glow of the foyer lamp. Asked Elena to turn her head left, right, chin up. Each click of the camera felt like another brick in a wall between her past and her future. When they asked if she wanted to press charges, Elena hesitated only a second. Yes, Marcus was cuffed not roughly but firmly and led to the patrol car. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains. Mrs. Hargrove stood openly on her porch in a faded robe, arms crossed like a sentinel. Elena met her eyes and nodded once. The older woman nodded back, a silent pact. After the cruiser pulled away, Laura closed her laptop with a soft snap. "You okay?" "No," Elena said, "but I will be." They ate the pancakes after all, cold but defiant. Officer Ramirez accepted a plate before leaving, praising the fluffiness with a wry smile. "Best arrest breakfast I've ever had." Laura stayed the day. They boxed Marcus' clothes into black trash bags, changed the locks with a kit from the hardware store, installed a Ring camera Elena had ordered months ago, but never installed. Every task felt ceremonial, like shedding skin. That night, Elena slept in the guest room. Master bed smelled like him. Sweat and the cedar cologne he overused. She stripped the sheets, washed them twice with extra detergent, but still couldn't bring herself to lie there. Laura took couch murmuring, "I've slept on worse in law school." In the morning, Elena called the library. Her boss, Mr. Patel, listened without interruption. "Take the week," he said. "Take 2. "Your job is safe," she cried then, quiet tears into her coffee, the steam fogging her glasses. Laura drove her to the courthouse to file the TRO. The clerk was kind, handing her tissues and a pen. That actually worked. They sat in the fluorescent-lit waiting area among other women with similar paperwork, a sisterhood of survival. When the judge signed the order, 500 FT, no contact, surrender firearms, Elena felt the first real breath she'd taken in years. Back home, she opened every window. The house smelled like bacon and possibility. She texted Sophia, her cousin in Portland. "Can I call?" The reply was immediate. "FaceTime now." Sophia's face filled the screen, concern etching her features. "Laura told me, oh honey." They talked for 2 hours about the slap, the pancakes. Police. Sophia booked a flight for the weekend. Elena spent the afternoon cleaning. She scrubbed the kitchen until it gleamed, threw out the burnt rice pot with a satisfying clang, rearranged the spice rack alphabetically, control in small things. Evening brought the first violation, a text from Marcus number. "This is come get me from the station." Elena screenshot it, forwarded to Laura, and Ramirez then blocked him. 10 minutes later, an email from an unfamiliar address. "You'll regret this same treatment." Laura set up a shared drive for evidence. "Document everything. Pattern matters." That night, Elena dreamed of doors, endless doors, some locked, some open to light. She woke before choosing one. Friday, Sophia arrived with suitcases and stories. They cooked together. A rose canapé, like Rosa made, laughing over childhood memories of sneaking extra cinnamon into the flan. Sophia slept in the guest room. Elena took the master. New sheets, new start. Saturday, they painted the dining room a soft sage green. Every brush stroke felt like erasing Marcus's presence. Mrs. Hargrove brought lemon bars and an apology for not speaking up sooner. "I saw things," she confessed, voice trembling. "Thought it wasn't my place." "It's everyone's place," Elena said, and meant it. Sunday, the support group, Mia, the facilitator, had kind eyes and a voice like warm honey. 12 women in a church basement folding chairs in a circle. Elena spoke last. When she finished, the room was silent, then filled with nods and murmured, "I've been there." Driving home, she stopped at the art supply store. She bought canvases, oils, brushes she couldn't afford, but charged anyway. In the parking lot, she cried again, this time from hope. Monday, back to work. The library smelled like old paper and possibility. Children's Story Hour helping a teen find books on astronomy, recommending the night circus, to a regular normally precious. But the messages continued, different numbers, different emails. "You can't keep my house, lawyer says you're lying." Elena saved them all, then the footage, Mrs. Hargrove knocked one evening, USB in hand. "My late husband was paranoid. Installed camera everywhere." The video was grainy but clear. Marcus raised hand. Elena's flinch. The impact time-stamped. Elena watched it once, then never again. She gave it to Ramirez. The preliminary hearing was set for 2 weeks. Marcus bail conditions held. He stayed with a cousin across town. Elena changed the Wi-Fi password, the garage code, the safe combination. She painted her first canvas that night. A woman standing in a doorway, half in shadow, half in light. The bruise on her cheek was purple, fading to gold. The hearing room smelled of lemon polish and anxiety. Elena wore the navy blazer Laura lent her, hair pulled back severely with a clip that dug into her scalp. Marcus sat at the defense table in a borrowed suit that strained at the shoulders, eyes bloodshot from nights on his cousin's lumpy couch. His public defender, a harried young man named Kessler, shuffled papers like a losing poker hand. The judge, Honorable Judith Alvarez, had silver streaks in her braid and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed the filings with a pen poised like a scalpel. Elena's TRO packet was thick. Photos from 3:29 a.m., medical report from the urgent care visit, contusion, possible hairline fracture of the zygomatic arch, the neighbor's video, text screenshots, Mrs. Hargrove's affidavit sworn before a notary. Marcus' side had a character witness, his cousin Tony, who smelled faintly of beer and a claim of provocation by burnt dinner. Judge Alvarez raised one eyebrow so high it nearly touched her hairline. Elena testified first. She described the marriage in calm paragraphs. Good years when Marcus built her a window seat and read her poetry, the shift after his father's death when the drinking started, the incidents that escalated from SHVS to slaps to the night of Pancakes. She did not cry. When Kessler asked if she had ever hit Marcus, she said no and left it at that. Mrs. Hargrove took the stand in a floral dress that smelled of lavender sachets. Voice steady despite her age, she played the video on the courtroom screen. Marcus's face on tape was twisted in rage. Elena's was resigned until the moment she walked away without a word. The judge watched without expression, but her pen moved furiously. Cross-examination tried to paint Elena as dramatic, as having anger issues herself. Laura objected smoothly. Relevance, speculation sustained. Each time, Marcus testified last. He was contrite, voice cracking like a teenager's. I love my wife. It was a mistake. We can go to counseling. I'll do anything. The judge asked if he had started anger management. He had not. Kessler promised immediate enrollment, ruling Tiro extended 6 months. Marcus to complete a 52-week batterers intervention program certified by the state. House awarded to Elena pending divorce proceedings. No contact, including third parties. Firearms to be surrendered within 48 hours. Outside in the marble hallway, Laura hugged her so hard Elena's ribs creaked. Phase 1 complete. Now we divorce his ass. But Phase 2 began immediately. That evening, a brick through the living room window, wrapped in paper, glass everywhere, the words scrolled in red spray paint across the driveway by morning, still wet when Elena discovered it at 6:12 a.m. Police dusted for prints. None. Ramirez increased drive-bys to twice nightly. Elena installed motion lights that bathed the yard in white glare, reinforced windows with security film, bought a baseball bat she kept under the bed. She refused to move. The divorce attorney, recommended by Laura, was a shark in pearls named Diane Wu. They met over coffee at the corner cafe with the good Quasas. Community property state, Diane said, stirring 3 sugars into her espresso. But fault matters. We document everything, every text, every brick, every threat. Elena opened a new bank account at a different branch, rerouted her paycheck, froze joint credit cards. She changed the beneficiary on her life insurance from Marcus to Sophia. Marcus' name came off the utilities one by one. Electric, water, internet. Each cancellation felt like cutting a tether. He fought back through Kessler, claims she was hiding assets in her art sales, demands for half the house immediately, accusations of alienation of affection. Diane countered with the police reports, the brick photos, the red paint still staining the concrete. Support group became weekly therapy. Mia recommended a trauma specialist named Dr. Singh, who smelled of sandalwood and patience. The first session, Elena talked about the pancake breakfast for 40 minutes straight, how the smell of bacon still made her stomach clench, how she couldn't eat blueberries without flashing back to the officers' faces. Art became oxygen. She painted the brick incident, shards of glass catching light like prisms, the word morphing into warrior in dripping letters that looked like blood, but were actually cadmium red. She titled it Shattered, Not Broken. The local gallery owner, passing the library to return an overdue book, saw it leaning against the staff room wall and offered wall space for a pop-up show. Marcus' cousin Tony showed up one afternoon, drunk and bellowing from the street about family loyalty. Neighbors called police. Another violation added to the file. The messages evolved. Photos of the house from odd angles taken at night with a flash that made the windows glow like eyes. One showed Elena's bedroom window, curtains open, her silhouette reading in bed. She slept with the bat after that. Then Sarah reached out, ex-girl, friend 5 years before Elena. Laura vetted her through mutual contacts, then arranged a meeting at a neutral cafe with outdoor seating and plenty of witnesses. Sarah was smaller than Elena, remembered from old photos Marcus had deleted, but her eyes were fierce. He did the same to me. Isolated me from friends, hit me when I burned toast, apologized with jewelry I couldn't wear to work because it left bruises. I left when he put me in the hospital with a concussion, dropped charges because he threatened my sister's kids. They compared timelines on napkins, overlap in patterns. Charm, the control, the explosion, the honeymoon phase, repeat. Sarah had medical records, old texts. a restraining order that expired when she moved states. She was willing to testify in the divorce. Elena felt less alone. She wasn't the first, but she would be the last. The divorce petition was filed on a Tuesday. Marcus contested everything. Property, spousal support, even the dog they never got. Discovery began. Bank statements, emails, phone records. Diane subpoenaed Marcus' therapy attendance spotty and his construction company's HR file. 2 write-ups for aggression. One night, Elena woke to scratching at the back door. Heart hammering, she grabbed the bat, called 911, flipped on every light. A raccoon, fat and unafraid, stared at her through the glass. She laughed until she cried, then cried until Sophia found her on the kitchen floor at 3:00 a.m., eating cold pancakes straight from the fridge. Sophia moved in temporarily, taking the guest room with her lavender diffuser and loud laughter. They cooked, painted, binge-watched old movies where the heroine always got away, normally as armor. The gallery show was scheduled for 6 weeks out. Elena produced 12 pieces in 3 months, working until her fingers cramped and her eyes burned. Opening night, the library closed early so staff could attend. Mrs. Hargrove wore a corsage of white roses. Officer Ramirez came in uniform, badge polished, shattered, not broken. Sold first to a women's shelter for their lobby, then 3 more, enough for a down payment on Marcus' share of the house, if the judge ruled fairly. Marcus' lawyer requested mediation. Elena refused. Court only, Diane said, cracking her knuckles. He doesn't get to negotiate my safety. The final hearing loomed. Elena prepared her impact statement. She wrote it longhand in a leather journal Sophia gave her, then typed it, then rewrote it until every word was a blade of truth. She practiced in the mirror. Your Honor, I am not asking for punishment. I am asking for peace. I am asking for the right to sleep without a bat under my bed. I am asking for the right to eat pancakes without tasting fear. The mediation refusal enraged Marcus. The messages turned vile for 48 hours. Texts from burner apps calling her every name he could spell, then stopped abruptly. Lawyer advice, probably. Silence was its own threat. Heavier than words, Elena's days filled with purpose. Library promotion to assistant director came with a corner office and a plant she named Frederick. She led teen writing workshops where kids wrote about identity and power. Curated a display on women's history with books Marcus had once mocked as feminist propaganda. Normally weaponized self-defense classes with Mia became sacred. Tuesday and Thursday nights she learned to jab, to yell no until her throat was raw, to break holds with leverage instead of strength. The first time she flipped the instructor, a former Marine named Carlo, with a buzz cut and kind eyes, she whooped so loud the class applauded. She bought her first pair of boxing wraps, bright teal, and hung them on a hook by the door like a medal. Art Salis funded therapy, security upgrades, divorce fees. She turned Sophia's temporary guest room into a studio with skylights and a sink for cleaning brushes. The first night she painted until 4:00 a.m. She fell asleep on the futon with cadmium yellow still under her fingernails. Sarah testified in a deposition via Zoom from her new home in Colorado. Her records matched Elena's patterns exactly. Same cycle. Same apologies, same escalation. Marcus' team tried to discredit her as bitter ex. The judge watched the footage of Sarah's hospital intake photos. Black eye, split lip, and her expression said everything. Then the break-in 2:14 a.m. The alarm shrieked like a banshee. Elena and Sophia barricaded in the studio. Police en route within 4 minutes. Back door jimmied with a crowbar. Kitchen ransacked. Drawers dumped. Flour exploded across the tile like snow. Fridge magnets rearranged to spell mine. Nothing taken. Message received. Prints matched a known associate of Marcus, Jake, fired from the same construction company after Marcus blamed him for a botched remodel that cost them a lawsuit. Jake had a rap sheet. Bar fights, petty theft, 1 Dewey. Police picked him up at a dive bar off Highway 12, still wearing the same black hoodie from the security footage. He lawyered up fast, but his phone was a gold mine. Texts from Marcus, scare her, make her drop it, $500 now, $500 after. Bank records showed the transfers, warrant issued. Marcus was arrested at his cousin's duplex, screaming innocence to the neighbors filming on their phones. Bail denied, flight risk, violation. Pattern, conspiracy to commit stalking. Trial date set for 8 weeks out. Elena's impact statement was 20 pages, single-spaced. She read it aloud to her empty studio, voice echoing off canvases drying. On every surface, the words felt like armor. The night before trial, she couldn't sleep. She painted until dawn. A phoenix rising from pancake batter, wings made of spatula and hope, beak open in a silent scream of triumph. She titled it Breakfast of Freedom and hung it still wet above the fireplace. Courtroom packed local paper covering domestic violence spike after a viral TikTok of brick incident. Elena wore red power color. Diane said her hair was down for the first time in months, curls tamed into a low bun. Prosecution laid it out like a crime novel. Assault, stalking, conspiracy. Sarah testified in person this time, voice steady. Mrs. Hargrove played the pancake video again, narrating like a nature documentary. Jake took a plea, 18 months testimony against Marcus. For reduced sentence, defense claimed Elena orchestrated everything for the house, that the bruise was makeup, that the brick was self-inflicted. The jury wasn't convinced. They'd seen the urgent Carex raise. Elena's turn. She walked to the stand in heels that clicked like punctuation. Met Marcus' eyes empty now like a house with the lights off and spoke. I loved you once. I believed in us. I believed love could fix anything, even fists. But love doesn't leave bruises. Love doesn't threaten. Love doesn't hire friends to terrorize. I am not your possession. I am a person and I choose freedom. The jury deliberated 4 hours and 12 minutes, guilty on all counts. Felony assault, stalking, conspiracy, sentencing in 6 weeks. Elena didn't stay to watch the baifs lead him away in cuffs. She walked out into sunlight that felt like forgiveness. The next month was paperwork and peace. Divorce finalized in a hearing. Marcus attended via video from county jail. Pale, thinner, eyes down. The judge awarded Elena the house, all contents, and a restraining order permanent until further review. Marcus got supervised visitation with the furniture he no longer owned. She hosted a housewarming the weekend after, library staff, support group, Sophia, Mrs. Harrove, even Officer Ramirez off duty in jeans and a blouse. They ate pancakes, blueberry, chocolate chip, banana, walnut. No apologies needed. Someone started a conga line through the kitchen. Elena laughed until her sides hurt. Art career launched. Commission for the women's shelter mural. Rise in bold colors across the dining hall where survivors ate. Speaking gigs at high schools about healthy relationships, consent, red flags. She dated Alex, the children's librarian with kind eyes and terrible puns. Quoted where the wild things are during staff meetings. First date, mini golf. He let her win, then bought her ice cream with sprinkles. 1 year later, Elena stood in her studio, now sunlit, and sprawling with north-facing windows. The bruised canvas hung in the city gallery's permanent collection. She was working on a new series, doors, half-open doors, doors with light spilling. Through the first painting, a woman stepping through, back to the viewer, sunrise ahead, pancake in one hand like a torch. She titled it after the pancakes. 10 years passed like brushstrokes. Deliberate, colorful, irreversible. Elena's house became a haven. The kitchen where violence once lived now hosted brunches for the support group every third Sunday. Laughter echoing off sage green. Walls painted with Sophia's help. She replaced the fridge magnets with ones from every state she visited on book tours. Her memoir, Pancakes and Power, hit indie bestseller lists and was optioned for a limited series. The producer wanted to cast her as a consultant. She declined. I lived it, she said. I don't need to watch it. The library expanded under her direction. She fundraised for a teen safe space in the basement. Bean bags, charging stations, a mural of constellations painted by the Astronomy Club. Mrs. Harrow volunteered twice a week, reading to toddlers with the same steady